Welcome back to Invest Global. Today we're discussing El Salvador's move towards their new citizenship by investment program with just 3 Bitcoin. This is very, very interesting in the global macro landscape. I talk a lot about different citizenship by investment programs, different international strategies as far as real estate, global equities go, and even second residencies in order to get citizenship by naturalization. But this is a very compelling program. Now it is very, very new. So I have noticed they did not update anything on their actual embassy website, at least for the United States. I do find this fascinating, though, because you look at, okay, what countries other than El Salvador and South America are really reliant on the U.S. dollar, and especially as we see just the continued decline in the U.S. dollar, you can see it pretty simply here in the U.S. dollar index. Well, it's Ecuador, right? So Ecuador and El Salvador still are reliant on this U.S. dollar. El Salvador, if I remember correctly, it was 2001 where they shifted from their currency, which had a lot of problems, by the way. Obviously, this is a country that has been through a lot of different wars, a lot of different regimes throughout history. And the economy over a long period of time has been very, very reliant on agriculture. And for a long time, it was actually lavender. And when this didn't pan out, when lavender exports didn't work, this is where you saw a lot of issues in the country just from an economic standpoint. And it really helped just the top level people in El Salvador, just the people with a lot of money. But the common people really got hurt by this, right? And I think that's one thing that Bitcoin does, and it really solves, is giving a free landscape. It really evens out the playing field to everyone. It doesn't matter if El Salvador has it on the balance sheet. It doesn't matter if Tesla has it on the balance sheet. They have the same wallet as someone who has $10 in BTC, right? It's all the same. That's the beauty of it. This is a truly equitable system. And as I was saying, the U.S. dollar, when countries are looking at this, well, wait a second, since these peaks in 2002, literally since El Salvador put it on in 2001, look at this massive decline, right? So literally, this is the U.S. dollar index. I always start my day out with this in capital markets. I like to look at U.S. dollar index. I like to look at crude oil. Man, that drop is insane. I like to look at U.S. dollar index, and obviously you have to do inflation adjusted terms with this. But I like to look at U.S. dollar index, 10-year treasury yield, and crude oil. Typically, those are the 3 macro indicators that I find very interesting. Just kind of keep your finger on the pulse of the global economy. But you look at this and you go, okay, wait a second. So if I'm still reliant, if I'm El Salvador and I'm still reliant, or I'm we're at whatever country and I'm still reliant on the U.S. dollar, and I can't actually change these laws. I can't really interact with the Federal Reserve. I can interact with the Treasury. I have really no say, and I'm just completely at the whim of whatever happens in the U.S. And I see all these massive stimulus checks passing. Well, why would I still want the U.S. dollar as a legal tender? When they changed from their native currency to the U.S. dollar, it was a slow changeover. So essentially what they did is they had like a peg. I think it was like 8 point. It was something like 8. I'm drawing a blank on the El Salvadoran currency's name. It was a long time ago, but it was this peg. And essentially what they did is once everybody spent those, the banks basically grabbed them up, and it's now just U.S. dollars in circulation. But you see this trend, right? You see this trend in the market where the U.S. dollar is not strengthening, right? It's not strengthening at all. It's declining. And obviously I see U.S. dollar weakening as, global equities higher, right? So it's just a weird balancing act. And I think the most important thing to understand here is El Salvador's move here is a big step, right? Someone has to take the risk. And yes, El Salvador is a country where the murder rate has been incredibly high, very, very sadly. We have seen this decline in 2020, but in 2015, I think it was like, there's an article that talks about this. I'll pull it up, but they were named this, the worst country outside of a war zone for murders. I mean, it's absolutely horrible, right? So then you look at the leaders in power that are really trying to make big moves. And even if it's short-term selfish moves, I think it's the trend in the right direction. You have to go, okay, what can El Salvador really lose by accepting Bitcoin as legal tender? Well, I would say over the next 10 years, I would much rather hold BTC like Bitcoin than hold US dollars, right? So especially when you look at the charts, I mean, the charts laid out pretty well when you understand Bitcoin fundamentally, which I talk a lot about on this channel. And then you go, okay, obviously Bitcoin's going to, at some point in time, hit another bear market. And then potentially you can get in for a citizenship by investment program in El Salvador for just 3 BTC. Quite interesting opportunity, in my opinion. There's a lot going on here. So yeah, as I said, let me see this. So El Salvador has made notable advances in reducing homicides since it has earned the undesirable title of the deadliest country outside a war zone in 2015, with more than 6,600 murders in a country of almost 6.5 million people. So now 5 years later, 2020, I'm curious what the 2021 numbers are. It's more than 2 decades with around 1,322. Ideally, we get this number to 0, right? I mean, obviously, in a perfect world, that's what would happen, but I think overall, this country moving in the right direction is very, very good to see. I want to see a lot more countries doing this, especially more emerging market countries. I'm here in beautiful Batumi, Georgia, and I'll show you just on like Google Maps here. Sometimes it's kind of fun. This is where I'm at currently. It's absolutely beautiful. And one of the awesome things about Georgia is they've really done a really big shift. Mikhail Saakashvili, I might get that name wrong, but when he came in, he fired the whole police department. He got rid of corruption, and this is something where I like to see emerging market countries do this. I like to see the big trend shift and more seeing the country as a business on a global landscape than just some sacred cow. Seeing a country different than a business it isn't really the right way of looking at it. I think countries should be more competitive, and that's why I like El Salvador. I like seeing countries like this, like the leaders. Although the laser eyes are a little ridiculous, but I do like seeing this. Right, so this is going on in the where's he at? Paraguay. Yeah, so Paraguay, beautiful, beautiful country. Follow us at Invest Global under IO. Follow this man right here. Pretty awesome to see. More people moving towards the laser eyes. Now, you can say laser eyes are ideology, but I think it's really about what it stands for, right? It's about this idea of moving away from fiat currency, moving away from these systems where they are corruptible. Bitcoin is an incorruptible system. That's the beauty of it, right? It's an open source blockchain network. And we talk about all these different things on this channel. So if you're new to this channel, definitely subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions so far in this video, but I'm going to continue on with some of these other things I have been seeing, and I'll return back here. And as I was saying with Georgia, it's just awesome to see it as more of a business-minded country versus a country that's just like, oh, we're going to rest on our laurels like the U.S. And especially when you have ties with that country's currency. Sorry for the honk here. When you have ties to that country's currency, this is a massive problem, right? Because if you see this country that's kind of resting on its laurels, you see, oh, this is a global reserve currency, but we're going to just issue these massive stimulus checks, and we're going to really, I think, just hurt the economy overall. I don't think the U.S. did a good job during the past year handling the pandemic situation. You can debate me on that, but I'm not trying to get political here. I'm just purely looking at it. I'm trying to look at it objectively and going, okay, let's break down the numbers, right? Let's look at the numbers. Ever since the U.S. dollar, was taken off the gold standard, ever since Bretton Woods system, it's kind of been a decline, in my opinion, especially. Inflation's for a whole nother topic. But anyways, let's head over to El Salvador, right? So this is kind of why I like Google Maps, because it'll shoot you over across the world. By the way, Turkey, beautiful country. Spent 3 months there. El Salvador right here, right next to Guatemala and Honduras. There's a smaller country, right? So I think if I remember correctly, it's like San Salvador is the capital, and Santa Ana, Santa Miguel, yeah, those are the kind of other big cities. But the thing to understand here is the passport is actually quite interesting. The passport allows you to get into a lot of the Schengen zone countries. I think I had an article pulled up here about it, but it allows you to get into Japan. So visa-free access to some of these countries is quite interesting in South America, and you just don't get these in other areas. Like I said, there's not much information on this new Citizenship by Investment program on the actual embassy website, so I would be hesitant with this. But I think long-term, more in a bear market is where I'd consider doing it, because I do like to have multiple passports. I do like to have a multiple residency set up just for freedom of movement and to diversify political risk. I mean, that's a huge thing for me is, over the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, diversify. Nobody can say what will happen politically. That's almost a little bit more of a concern for me currently than economic risk, right? Like I have proper diversification in emerging markets and across global asset classes. But I think this is it. Oh, yeah. Here's an article on the Colones, 8.75. I thought I had an article pulled up on the, let me see. If not, it's all good. But no problem. Okay, so basically, they allow visa-free access to a lot of different countries, and this is something where you just don't get this in a lot of other places. They also allow dual citizenship, and I think it is kind of compelling as far as that goes. Here we go. So passport benefits: receive the passport and national identity card within 45 days. That's pretty incredible. Free 2-hour consultation by phone. That's pretty standard in most countries. I mean, 2-hour consultation isn't all that much. Over one of the top 40 passports in the world. Visa-free travel to more than 110 countries, access to 26 Schengen zone countries, 5-year validity and renewable for life. So that is pretty incredible. Personally, I would not live in El Salvador. I think if you are interested in visiting, be very, very careful. Obviously, a lot of people have kind of a negative viewpoint on these countries where they have these, they kind of have these stigmas, right? So like the news portrayed them in one way, but I think South America is absolutely incredible. I love Colombia. I love Brazil. There's a lot of interesting investment opportunities there, but I personally would not necessarily like to purchase real estate in El Salvador. So that's why I'm curious with the Citizenship by Investment program. It's very important to diversify. Okay, what's a citizenship by donation and what's a citizenship by investment? I talked about that in last night's live stream, And citizenship by investment in this case is where potentially you'd be getting into like some government bonds. Like I said, I really wouldn't like to have real estate. You know, if you could just park some capital in a bank account, whereas in some countries you can get like a residency permit, that could be an interesting play. But I mean, I again, like I said, personally wouldn't want to live there. I'm curious as to what you guys think about it. As these things decline, though, I think over the long run, ideally El Salvador becomes a much more safe place to live. And again, the passport's an interesting opportunity, right? Like in Bitcoin, I'm not saying it necessarily will, but let's just say it returns down to 10K and it's still 3 Bitcoin. It's one of the cheapest passports that you can get, like they said, you know, within 45 working days. So I'm personally pretty excited for this. You know, I probably will end up if they fully roll this out and they make it a bit more official. I do have some connections in South America where I would set something like this up. If you have any personal questions on this, you can reach out to us. There's an email down below in the description. Just contact at investglobal_io. Also, you can join the Telegram group if you're just curious about discussing, like in more of a private group, about everything global investment strategies. So that's basically it for this video. You know, I wanted to discuss what's going on with El Salvador. It's kind of more of an informal video, but it's very, very interesting what's going on there. So that's all for this one. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel to stay up to date, hit the notification bell because this is time-sensitive content. So just to recap, let me know in the comments if you have any questions, any video requests. There's also going to be a live stream tonight, so you can hop on that. Besides that, like, subscribe button all, invest global, and until next time.